The Unitarian Church of Montpelier is located on Western Abenaki land, which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst Indigenous peoples. The Unitarian Church of Montpelier honors, recognizes, and respects these peoples as their traditional stewards of the lands and waters on which we gather. In that same spirit, we will respect, protect, and be good stewards of this land for as long as we walk upon it. Good morning. My name is Will White, and I'll be your worship associate for this service. I extend a warm welcome to you and thank you for joining us in this time of worship from wherever you are. The Unitarian Church of Montpelier is a Unitarian Universalist congregation founded in 1864. We are a liberal, progressive religious community that welcomes all as we journey together, seeking spiritual wholeness and justice in this world in which we live. Whether you are in central Vermont this morning or tuning in from out of state, however, and wherever you are joining in from for this shared time of worship, we are so glad that you're with us. We'd like to extend a special welcome to anyone who is joining our community for worship for the first or second time this morning. Please let us know in the chat or in the Facebook comments if you are watching on Facebook that you are new to our community so that we can follow up and offer you a special welcome. Feel free to let us know in the chat box that you are new to our congregation. Oh, said that part already. As we begin our time together, I want to share just a couple notes about our worship platform, Zoom. The default setting for this meeting is for you to have your video on. If you'd prefer to have your video off throughout the worship, you'll need to make a point of turning your own video off. You can control whether your video is on and off at any point, and either option is fine. Also, the chat function will be on for much of our service. If you wish, please use the chat to welcome and support one another, to affirm the hard work and effort of our worship leaders, and to share good vibes and positive thoughts with one another. In order to hold some moments of focused worshipful quiet together, we'll be turning the chat off before the prayer and through the sermon. Finally, we are offering a live transcription of the service for increased accessibility. If you are joining on Zoom from a computer, you can make the transcription visible by clicking the live transcript button at the bottom of your Zoom window and then selecting Show Subtitles. If you're joining on Zoom from a tablet, such as an iPad, you can make the transcription visible by clicking on More in the upper right-hand corner of your Zoom screen and then selecting Settings and Turn on Closed Captions. Again, welcome to each and every one of you on this beautiful Sunday morning. Now let us enter more deeply into our time of worship with our prelude, performed by our interim music director, Kelly Walker-Hart.
Bright morning stars are rising, bright morning stars are rising, bright morning stars are rising. Day is a breaking in my soul. Oh, where are our dear mothers? Oh, where are our dear mothers? Oh, where are our dear mothers? Day is a breaking in my soul. They are sowing seeds of gladness. They are sowing seeds of gladness. They are sowing seeds my soul.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Joan Javier-Duval, Minister of the Unitarian Church of Montpelier. For our opening words, I invite you to join Will with the response, "We travel this road together." From the busyness of every day, we gather once a week to remember who we are, to dream of who we might become.
We will travel this road together.
As companions on this journey, we share the milestones we meet along the way. Individual moments of joy and sorrow become shared moments of comfort and celebration.
We will travel this road together.
We share this journey across differences of belief and opinion because we value diversity and because we care for one another.
We travel this road together.
Today, as we take the next steps, let us notice our fellow travelers, the burdens that they carry, the songs that inspire their hearts.
We travel this road together.
As we gather in beloved community, let us open the holy havens of our hearts. Let us share the sacred places of our souls, for we are pilgrims who share a common path.
We travel this road together.
And please join now in our opening song, "For All That Is Our Life." Please sing along from wherever you are.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain and loss, for work and things we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
And now I'd especially like to invite any children who might be watching today's service to listen in for this morning's Time for All Ages. I want to share with you about someone who has made a big impact on Unitarian Universalism and some of their beliefs that have to do with this month's theme of becoming.
William Ellery Channing and the Divinity within each of us. William Ellery Channing was born 261 years ago on April 7th, 1780, in Newport, Rhode Island. William's family was very religious, and they would go to their local congregational church almost every Sunday. This was a Christian church, and William and his family would hear about God and Jesus and the Bible in church, and they would also talk about God and Jesus and the Bible at home. Some of the preaching that William heard from that pulpit was very stern. The minister's messages made William feel that human life on earth was full of misery and gloom, and that God was always angry with humans and the way they acted and treated one another. The minister at their church wasn't the only minister at the time who shared these beliefs. One Sunday, William's father brought him to listen to a minister, also called a preacher, who was passing through town. Like some other preachers of the time, this preacher gave a fiery sermon that made William feel as though the earth was cursed and that people were bad all the time. His father called it sound doctrine, meaning he agreed with those ideas. William expected that they would go home and his whole family would have to pray to be saved from all of that misery, but instead, the family ate their usual meal and his father smoked his pipe while reading the newspaper, like he always did. William was confused. He decided that he needed to pay more attention to how people acted and not only what they said. William went on to become a minister himself. As a young minister, William began to develop his own ideas that were different from what he had heard in the church of his childhood. Instead, William believed strongly that God was good and wanted humans to be happy. He believed that God had made humans to be just as good and kind and caring as God was. William and other ministers of his time believed that in our very souls, humans are actually a lot like God, a God that is good-natured and loving. William also believed that people could keep on becoming better and better if they were willing to try hard, to think, ask questions, seek out the truth, and do good deeds. In fact, William believed that finding ways to become a better and better person was one of the most important things anyone of any age could do in life. Today, not all Unitarians or Unitarian Universalists believe in God, yet because of the legacy of William Ellery Channing, our Unitarian Universalist faith today continues to put forward the worth and dignity of all people and the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Following in the footsteps of William Ellery Channing, we continue to seek out ways to become a better version of ourselves, perhaps even a bit more like the ultimate good that some people call God.
Thanks, especially to any of our kids who might have been tuning in for your attention in this time for all ages. And now we'll have a short musical interlude featuring Eliza Thomas on piano.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
The reading this morning is A Letter to Our Better Angels by Sean Parker Dennison. Dear angels, it seems important to begin by making it clear that we are not talking about celestial winged beings. This letter is addressed instead to our better selves, the people we hope we will be when necessary. We might also note that we more often excel at our self-appointed role as advocate for the devil, a requisite position that is also, if you ask us, not literal, but theoretical, and therefore without consequence. We are writing to let you know that we feel your presence insufficient and unpredictable. And when we inquire about how to make you more dependable, we are offended by and opposed to the level of accountability required. We are hoping to make arrangements for an increase in the percentage of goodness and presence of admirable qualities in ourselves and in others, especially in others. We respectfully request that this come easily and with immediate delivery, a dependable warranty, and at no extra cost. We would be even more pleased if it could be arranged for us to become better people without needing to change or to consider any needs but our own. It would also please us if our status as increasingly good could be noted in some way. Perhaps a cookie, a badge, a halo, so long as it's comfortable. We hope you will consider our request as soon as humanly possible, not in angel time. We have already waited a long time, unaware of the seriousness of the situation, the disrepair to our reputation. Please expedite our request. We have only just noticed the world is ending. Sincerely. The first time that I read the work of William Ellery Channing, who I talked about in the Time for All Ages earlier, was as part of an adult religious education class at the first Unitarian Universalist congregation that I attended in Washington, D.C. I had just started attending services at this UU church a few months prior, and I was interested in taking a deep dive into Unitarian Universalist beliefs and theology. Our small group met in a circle in the sanctuary where we received an introduction to the class. And based on the reading list, I could tell this was going to be a serious undertaking. Listed there was Channing's 1828 sermon entitled Likeness to God. I struggled at first to make sense of the early 19th century language on the page, but I was soon able to tease out some of Channing's core beliefs that would make an impression on me. Here are two short snippets from that sermon. In proportion as we approach and resemble the mind of God, we are brought into harmony with the creation. For in that proportion, we possess the principles from which the universe sprang. We carry within ourselves the perfections of which its beauty, magnificence, order, benevolent adaptations, and boundless purposes are the results and manifestations. Here's just another very short excerpt. I would teach that likeness to God is a good so unutterably surpassing all other good that whoever admits it is attainable must acknowledge it to be the chief aim of life. I would show that the highest and happiest office of religion is to bring the mind into growing accordance with God, and that by the tendency of religious systems to this end, their truth and worth are to be chiefly tried. At the time I read these words, I was on a journey of unbecoming in regards to my religious identity. The theologian Albert Schweitzer has said, the path of awakening is not about becoming who you are, rather it is about unbecoming who you are not. I was beginning to awaken to something other than the Roman Catholic faith in which I had been raised, which didn't satisfy my spiritual longings. I was searching. Channing's words spoke to me in that particular moment. Perhaps I needed reassurance of my own goodness, of the impression of divinity within me. I had also been taught growing up to always try to do and be my best. And I read some of this in his own words. My parents had and still have high expectations of me and my siblings, and these high expectations were also communicated in our Catholic schools, which I attended from kindergarten through high school. And I'll tell you that I must have absorbed this message of self-improvement pretty well, because it turned out that the only award I ever won in my very short-lived athletic career was during the years that I ran track and field in high school. I won the Most Improved Player Runner Award every year of the 4 years I was on the team. There was a lot of improvement to make, apparently. Sometimes the encouragement from my elders and those in positions of authority that I was given to strive towards achievement and betterment was accompanied by the message, intentional or not, that I wasn't measuring up. The message that there was something flawed in what I was doing or not doing. And more often than not, striving to become better was more about avoiding wrongdoing than it was about living into my potential. So fast forward to me sitting with Channing's sermon, Likeness to God. It was as much an epiphany to me as it probably was to some of Channing's original listeners and readers, that one could view human nature with that much optimism. Now, Channing didn't believe that humans were just naturally good and that was the end of the story. He also wasn't asserting that humans are divinely supernatural. He wasn't equating humans with God. Channing and other early Unitarians believed that we must continue to cultivate those innate gifts and qualities that make us like divinity itself in our very humanly existence right here on earth. For me, this was an attractive endeavor at the time. It was liberating to believe that outside of any institution or family unit or even religion, that I could aim towards my own self-improvement in the process of becoming more of the person that I wanted to be, and that reflected something holy and sacred. Today, this propensity towards self-improvement and betterment is alive and well in Unitarian Universalism, as it is in our broader culture. The self-help, also called personal development industry, makes billions of dollars a year. Social media is filled to the brim with influencers who promise to help you become a better parent, friend, spouse, knitter, gardener, activist, you name it. This drive to be better is strong and dictates much of how we make decisions, what we read or watch, and how we choose to dedicate our time. I like to think that the religious quest of betterment is qualitatively different from the kind of personal development so often marketed these days. To me, it makes a difference to be part of a community when embarking on a journey of becoming better in whatever ways one might hope. And I would also hope that working to improve one's character and to more fully live one's values has the benefit of social good in a way that other kinds of personal development may not. I believe that the support that we provide to one another and to our children here in this congregation to more fully live our values and principles and to become more spiritually whole, that has a benefit beyond each of our individual lives. This spiritually and community-grounded endeavor does some good for the world at large. Yet at the heart of this striving to be better, whether in religious community or otherwise, there can also often be a striving towards perfection and a desire to control every outcome that is not always of benefit. I have to admit that this is also where I discovered some affinity with Unitarian Universalism early on. I could recognize in myself and also within this beloved faith tradition the sincere desire to get things right, and also the striving for a probably unattainable moral perfection and perfection of character. We hear this striving in William Ellery Channing's words written centuries ago. Sean Parker Dennison makes light of this tendency in our reading. They write the following to our better angels. We are hoping to make arrangements for an increase in the percentage of goodness and presence of admirable qualities in ourselves and in others, especially in others. It would also please us if our status as increasingly good could be noted in some way, perhaps a cookie, a badge, a halo, so long as it's comfortable. I certainly recognize myself in this tongue-in-cheek reflection of our striving to be good and to be recognized for being good. This striving for perfection, I have found in my own personal experience, can become utterly exhausting over time. While striving to be better and do better is an important part of our spiritual journeys, this constant effort, paired with the sometimes unrelenting expectation of never failing, can wear you down. So how do we bring balance to the striving so often a part of this path of becoming? Tomorrow begins the holy month of Ramadan for Muslims. This is a time when Muslims practice fasting during the daylight hours and engage in reflection, prayer, and acts of charity and service. Now, the word Islam, the name of the religion itself, is the Arabic word for surrender. The meaning of surrender in Islam is quite complex, but at the heart of it is the pursuit of peace through acknowledging and honoring the ultimate power outside oneself. For Muslims, of course, this power is God or Allah. As I reflect on what is entailed in the human process of becoming, I am aware of the healthy tension between striving and surrendering. And I believe that we can benefit from the ease that comes from not always striving, from allowing a state of effortlessness, from surrendering to what is beyond our control, to a greater peace than can be attained through our efforts alone. Becoming entails not only striving for moral and personal betterment, but also surrendering to the unfolding journey with all that might be unexpected and surprising. Certainly over the last year of the pandemic, each of us has experienced a lack of control over many of our external circumstances. Whether we have welcomed it or not, we have had to surrender control over so many aspects of our lives. The spiritual act of surrendering may now be a familiar one. I believe that we can engage in spiritual practices of surrendering in ways that are also intentional, a choice, and that allow for releasing into the mystery of life and the universe, and for the unclenching of our tight grip on all that we seek to make better or do better in ourselves and in the world. This opportunity may emerge for you in a relationship you've been struggling with, or in a community effort that you're a part of that is hitting some bumps in the road. Where and how can you loosen and allow some new way forward to become known? With this practice of release in concert with all of our effort, I believe we can find a wholeness of spirit that can sustain us and open us to more fully discovering who we are becoming on this path. I'll close with this parable. It's a wisdom tale from the Sufi tradition, which may be familiar to you. It's called The Tale of the Journeying Stream. High atop a mountain range, a stream sprang up from its hidden source and made its way down the mountainside. And it flowed easily over, across, under any obstacle in its path. It continued along, not slowing down until it reached a vast dryness that it could not comprehend. It tried to move forward, but its strength had lessened. And with the sun beating down, it wasn't long until the desert had eaten up all of the spring's new waters. The ways of the mountain will not work here, the desert said to the stream. Yet the spring was convinced that its destiny was to cross the desert. And then it began to notice something. The wind was strong, and there was a dune in the distance, and some of its sand was being picked up by the wind and swirled into the sky. And the stream heard a voice, almost a whisper. Surrender. The stream was afraid. Pushing forward was the only way it knew. Do you trust enough, little stream? The desert asked. The stream wasn't sure, and then it heard the voice again. There are lands far across the desert where I will drop you once again, if only you come with me. There you will be a stream once more. But what if I'm not the same stream? How can I be sure? There was no answer. The wind was picking up strength, and the stream began to feel its vapor rising above the surface of the sands and into the welcoming arms of the wind. As it did so, a distant memory returned to the stream, of a stream it may have once been, and a wind that could be trusted. It gave itself fully to the wind soaring high above the hot white sands, and the wind carried it across, releasing it gently atop a distant mountain many miles away, where it once again began to flow. Here, the stream began to understand what it really was. Blessed be. And I invite you to join now in our closing song, My Life Flows On, an Endless Song. Thank you to Enrique for preparing this for us.
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the ring, though far off, hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear that music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth, it liveth. What though the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing? I lift mine eyes, the cloud grows thin, I see the blue above it, and day by day this pathway clears, since first I learned to love it. The warmth of peace restores my soul, a fountain ever springing. I walk with grace, since I am loved. How can I keep from singing? The warmth of peace restores my soul, a fountain ever springing. I walk with grace, since I am loved. How can I keep from singing?